So, kind of nervous.
We're going to talk to the
We're
president
going to talk to
and
the
the
president.
elected president, right? Today?
Yes, yes.
Both of them?
So welcome, Mr. President Musk. How are you doing?
It's it's very good to be here with you today. Obviously, we're looking at different radio shows and podcasts to possibly cancel under DOGE. So we're sort of like I've been on Joe Rogan and I thought I'd come on your show just to see like, is your audience sort of very woke and are you contributing, and obviously I'd like you and your co-host to sort of send me an email after the show to tell me 5 things that you liked about me after the show. And that will sort of, we're, there's a lot of radio shows and podcasts out there, and we can't afford to support them all, and so we're going to have to cut back on some. And reality redemption. I'm a big fan of reality. So it's like that is very good in terms of your chances of succeeding. But we just need to see which shows will survive.
Oh man, we're getting canceled.
Not a big fan of the redemption part, though. Is that what I'm getting?
I just much like president, I put president in air quotes when I refer to President Trump, but just like President Trump, um, he sort of doesn't think he needs forgiveness and think, he's just that sort of a strong Christian. And I'm sort of, I think, in the same position. Like I'm so sort of cool in terms of how people think of me that like I don't think I need any redemption. I'm sort of like saving the world with Tesla and SpaceX and having all my weird children via test tubes because the women have said, they make these funny jokes like because I made comedy legal. One of my women said, I'd rather do it like in a laboratory because I don't want your big albino bullfrog body on top of me in a bed. So like, that's like a funny joke because comedy is legal now. And, before me, it was basically like sort of like kind of like outlawed and not allowed.
Yeah, yeah. How did you feel about Michael Myers last week on SNL?
Like honestly, I'm not going to complain because I don't have the woke mind virus. But I was sort of hoping that I was kind of hoping that the Mike Myers from the Halloween movies would like show up behind him and murder him while he was trying to mock me. Because that would be like sort of meta comedy, like, oh wow, like yes, comedy's legal, but like the better Mike Myers murdered the like nasty trying to mock Elon Musk Mike Myers.
And how about your little spat with Marco Rubio the other day? Haven't we?
No, we didn't. This is okay. So you're obviously listening to the fake news, which not sort of a good move by the Reality Redemption show because like sort of that's sort of like a horrible. That's like three strikes in one, basically. We didn't have an argument. He, he's doing the best he can with his sort of mid-tier intellect, and I just happen to be like obviously say like kind of a super genius type of person. And I just had to explain to him that he was like stupid compared to me, and that like he should just like listen to me. And the president basically agreed. So it's like we're all on the same page. Marco Rubio is sort of like slightly below average intelligence, and I'm like top 0.0001% of intelligence. And we just had to explain it to him. So he got, like stupid people sometimes get very upset when you try to tell them something they don't understand. So I don't blame him. He's just sort of like a stupid person. But it's okay because we're all on the same page now, and we are, Doge is doing tremendous work, and little Marco, we gave him some fruit snacks, and he is, sitting happily on the couch, and everything is okay. He's actually having a conversation with my son X, because they're at like the same sort of intellectual level.
Um, what do you say to the critics? Oh, though, and I apologize. This is our audience asking this. the critics that say that you're focusing too much on the DOGE, and that's why your SpaceX rockets are exploding.
That maybe to them, they can't focus on four multi-billion-dollar companies and the US government at the same time. But I just sort of happen to be a kind of like extra level smart person. And SpaceX, we are trying to go to Mars. This is not going to happen overnight. There's going to be debris. There's going to be probably a lot of death before we get to Mars. And I'm okay with that. As long as it's not me or any of my children, I am willing to kill as many people as it takes to get to we want to go to Mars, and it's going to take a lot of death. Now, that said, I have enough money. I don't even know what my net worth is at this moment, but I can afford to lose billions of dollars and I'll still be sort of like rich, like beyond anybody else's like conception of wealth. So I'm okay with short-term losses to help get our government better because you have to understand what I'm doing with the government is I'm getting all this valuable information on my competitors and on taxpayers and on agencies. So like this is like an investment that will return tenfold once I start using all the information I've sort of quasi-legally obtained working with Doge. Like it's like my skin color, a gray area.
So that's always been the plan, just to go to Mars. Just fuck Earth, we're going to Mars.
Well, no, but he can just repopulate because he's got so many kids.
Oh, that's why he's having all these kids. Oh my God, it's all connecting. Okay.
That's exactly that is part of the reason. Because if I have enough kids, eventually there'll be so many that like their DNA will be sort of different enough that it won't be weird when they have kids together. Like sort of the way like the Royals did it. Look how well they did. That's basically what we did. The first family of Musk. My son X, my daughter. These are going to be, very tremendous people on Mars.
Dad already do something like this too? Like, wasn't there that story of not Elon Musk's dad?
I'm not really familiar with Elon's dad.
Oh, my father had a much younger wife at some point, and we didn't approve. So no, it'll be much cooler than what my dad did. Like I'll be doing like the cool version of that.
Yeah, I thought they were related. Maybe I got it wrong. I don't know, but I thought
I think. Oh, yeah. I think you might be right. I'm forgetting. I've sort of blocked it using my strong mental powers to sort of block unfortunate thoughts. But there was some sort of weird relationship. But you try to block out all the weird stuff. Like so, that's how I sort of maintain how cool I am by not thinking about the weird things.
Well, I know that you're a really busy man, Elon, and we appreciate you coming on. But we have one more question to you. We have one of your Tesla investors sitting in the room. What do you say to the Tesla investors that the stock is going down?
The stock went so like it's this sort of market correction, okay? Because the stock was so high. No stock just keeps going up, 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 up. Like you have to be very stupid if you think that. Like sometimes things happen. Sometimes you destroy a government. Sometimes your rockets blow up and destroy towns underneath. Sometimes your self-driving cars murder people. It wasn't a big deal when Stephen King wrote about it in Christine. There was a car killing people, and it wasn't even a self-driving Tesla. So like we're doing so much better than Christine and Stephen King ever dreamed that self-driving cars could do. So eventually the stock will turn up again. But right now the woke mind virus is affecting people and making them think that we have to buy some inferior brand to prove that we're woke. But it will be. We are going to be fine. You have to ride out this this, uh, temporary event.
Okay, then you're not going to put us on a government hit list, right? Use an appropriate.
I didn't hear that. If you just speak up, please.
Use inappropriate questions that we're asking you.
No, no. I mean, you'll have to find out when we go back and decide like what we're going to do with your show. You know, you might have to just sort of leave the studio in a day or two. But we haven't made a decision yet.
Well, thank you, Mr. Musk.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey. Although we know, can you and me, you're the real president. Can we talk elected president?
Oh no, sure. He's we're crate training him right now. So he's sitting there. He just had a treat and he's almost ready for a walk. So I'll go get him.
Well, that's
You never thought that would happen. Reality redemption.
Look who we have. Sir, it's nice to join us.
Is it?
Yes.
Sorry.
Where the hell am I?
Reality redemption, sir.
Reality redemption
with MJ and Snow.
podcast. No and MJ.
I mean,
Who?
Yes, can you hear us?
We can hear. Yeah, of course, I can hear you better than you can hear me. I can hear you better than you can hear me. So don't ever question. Excuse me. Don't ever question my hearing. My hearing is sort of many experts in terms of sound and ears. You know, Dumbo, by the way, was probably one of the great people in terms of ears. If you ever saw that movie, he had big ears, and he said to me, "Sir, you have better hearing than me." And I said, "Well, thank you, Dumbo. We appreciate that, and it's nice that he called me sir." You know, a lot of these woke Disney animals, they don't show proper respect. You know, the Lion King, he was very DEI, if you know what I mean. But Dumbo was very respectful.
Really?
You just don't like the Lion King because he has King in his name, right? And
No, he was like King, I would think.
No,
I respect. Excuse me. I respect the King part. Okay, maybe not Martin Luther King, but Lion King, I respect. But it was the fact that he was obviously from a. What's the language like on this show? Is this a free speech place, or do I have to say things for kids?
Oh yeah, you can cuss.
Okay. Is that similar to cursing?
Yes.
Yeah. First cuss.
What about swearing? Can I swear also?
Yeah.
Please.
Yes, we welcome that.
And can I say bad words, just to be clear?
Well, it's an honor to have you on, sir. So yeah.
The Lion King came from a shithole country. That's the point. Okay, it was a disaster. It was horribly run. You would have never had Scar. You would have never had Scar take over if I was there. Not in a million years. Scar. Did you ever see Scar take over when I was president? No, not even close, because he said he respected me, and then all of a sudden, Simba was a total disaster. So that's all I'm saying. Dumbo, however, great ears, great listening.
Well, you've had a busy week. I mean, we watched your address to Congress the other night.
Not quite a State of the Union, but similar.
That was quite the thing. Why wasn't a State of the Union?
It wasn't a state. I guess they want to do sort of like the first one, because I've only been president for like 6 weeks. They say, "Oh, it's an address to Congress," as if I couldn't state the union. Yeah, and look at that. Was that Tiffany? I don't know if you could hear that. There was a dog barking, and I hate dogs. But it was a great address to Congress. If you saw it, I thought it was. People are calling it the greatest speech ever given in front of Congress, and I think that's right. I think it's right. I think we laid out a strong agenda of Joe Biden is stupid, and that little kid with the mustache, he looked like a 40-year-old eighth grader. That kid, he's going to be a cop. And he said to me, "Sir,"
I love you, sir. And I said, well, look at that, a little black teenager who loves me. That's, you don't find that every day. And he said he wanted to be a cop. And I said, who's your favorite cop? And he said, Derek Chauvin. And I said, love that very much. He's my favorite cop too. Thank you. So we love that. We're doing very well with the brain cancer African American teen demographic right now. So we love that. We love that very much. And we'll probably pause it there in case people start to complain.
I wouldn't want to cancel. But we have to ask you something though. Was transgender mice really a thing? Is that really a thing?
It is a thing. It is, in fact, a horrible thing that they're doing in terms of the transgender mice. Now they pronounce it a different way. You can pronounce it. They're trying to, the radical left, they know how toxic the transgender issue is right now. So they say, no, it's pronounced transgenic. And I go, you're not fooling me. You're not going to fool me on this just by saying it's pronounced differently. Soon they'll be saying transformers. And I agree, there is more than meets the eye. But it's called Transgender Mice. And this is because if not a lot of people know this because I don't brag about a lot of things. But I had a meeting with Mickey Mouse, who, as you know, is probably the most famous of the mouses. And I say mouses because I don't like the way they make you say mice. Let me ask you a question. Okay, both of you answer honestly. When you buy a house, now I've bought many houses because I'm very rich, but when you buy one house, you own a house. If you own three houses, do you own three heists? No, you have three houses. But with the mice, they try to make it funny and say, oh, no, it's not mouses, sir, it's mice. And they try to make you seem stupid. So I talked to Mickey Mouse, and he said that Fauci strapped him down, and they tried to make him Minnie Mouse. They tried to make him a Minnie Mouse, and he said to me, "Sir, I didn't like it, huh?" And I said, "Well, thank you, Mickey. That's why you're with us. That's why Disney is with Ron DeSantis, and Mickey and Minnie Mouse are with Trump and MAGA." And it was a total disgrace. So I have eyewitness testimony from Mickey Mouse that they are transgendering the mice.
Well, speaking of mice, how do you feel about Speedy Gonzalez?
Well, Speedy Gonzalez, here's the sad thing. You know what they want to do? Speedy Gonzalez actually wants to get the surgery. He actually wants it. And because he's an illegal, the Democrats want to pay for it. How horrible is that? They said, oh, no, Speedy, you can come here and we'll do it for free. They're not even going to make Speedy Gonzalez pay for the surgery because that's what they do. His new name is Emilia Perez.
I was going to ask if that's why he wanted the surgery, because he saw the movie,
I think it was. And the left is in total chaos right now. It's a total disaster what the left is going through. And frankly, I sort of enjoy it, but we have to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We have to protect our law enforcement teens. We have to protect our mice, our American mice. Or as I say, mouses.
We do have to thank you, though, sir, because during the pandemic, when you sent out the Donnie dollars on the stimulus check, that was what afforded us to be able to buy this
the
podcast.
Reality Redemption podcast. Got created out of
so
$50.
I never thought we'd have the opportunity to thank you for that. And
well, unlike Zelensky, who seems to not know how to say thank you. I appreciate that the two of you are very thankful. It's important that we come together as a country and that people realize that I am great and that they need to thank me.
Well, wait a second. I didn't give my money to this podcast. I give mine to charity.
Oh yeah, didn't you donate yours to that guy from Georgia running for Senate?
Part of it, I gave mine to various charities.
Well, as you can tell, Snow is pretty woke.
Yeah, woke.
Not to say, normally I would just be staring at her shirt because it's in the right place. but I actually noticed there are words as well on her shirt. And I don't know if I like if those are genuine words, then we love it. But sometimes woke people tend to have shirts that are it's called sarcastic. And that feels like I call that shirt sarcastic. It's a sort of combination of my least favorite and my most favorite thing in the world.
Like one thing we do like to ask of our guests is, I think food brings everybody together. What's the best dish that you make?
I make a great dish called Uber Eats. I go on my phone and I press buttons, and all of a sudden, bam, there's delicious food every time. Perfect.
I saw the video though. You seem to be able to like cook fries really good.
There was, excuse me, there were more dogs barking out here. This is horrible. That must be an intruder.
You know, how
If you would repeat the question for your president, please. Thank you.
what's that? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we saw the video of you when you were at McDonald's. You looked like you could cook those fries pretty good.
Oh, the McDonald. Oh, of course. Well, of course. I mean, it's sort of to me, cooking is a choice. Everything I do is sort of the best. If it, it's sort of like, but it's a choice, and I'm very busy, so I prefer not to cook because it's sort of a waste of time. But they no, a lot of the people said around the fry cook, they said, "Sir, we've never seen fries getting cooked this well," and uh, that's what they say, and they're sort of the experts in terms of food and doing it fast and with the grease. So grease is the word.
Speaking of choice, then what about women's choice? I mean, I gotta ask you since you're here.
Don't offend the person.
It sounded like you said the words "women" and "choice" in the same sentence, and I don't acknowledge that.
Like a woman's choice to. I mean, you've gone back and forth on this issue, sir. So maybe.
Here's what I have to. I always have to explain a little extra for the ladies. Hello, ladies. This is for you. This is a special Trump message to the ladies who love choice. I love choice too. I think choice is very important, and I have a position that's very clear on this very serious issue. And I am pro-life choice. Okay, I am pro-life choice. It's very simple. When I am with a woman and maybe things happen that were not entirely anticipated, I am pro-choice. I am pro-choice, and that choice is my choice to tell her to be pro-choice and to choose the choice that I chose. Whereas with other people, because I'm a strong Christian who never goes to church, I believe that the choice has to be life. So we choose life. It's called, it's a compromise with very high ethics and strong morals called pro-life choice.
Right, and I guess we'll end it on this. There's been a lot of controversy this week about the tariffs. What is your game plan there? Because one day you have them, one next day you rescind it, and it keeps on going back and forth, and it kind of makes us all confused on what's really going on.
Show your strength. I mean, if you keep doing things and then
Don't be
taking it back.
disrespectful. No.
But
What we're calling it is tantric tariffs. Okay, and I don't know if you know this person, Sting. He's a very good friend of mine, very very smart guy. We're doing tantric tariffs, which is that we keep doing we never fully go for the tariff. We just keep raising the stakes and getting the markets excited and then lowering, and then we do it. And we're going to do this for years because Sting once told me he did tantric for like 18 hours. And I said, watch when I do tantric tariffs. I'm going to do it for 4 years. And it gets our allies and opponents sort of nervous. And it's important that people not be predictable. Okay. The worst thing you can do as a country is be predictable. And we are being what's known as unpredictable, which is actually the opposite of predictable. If you put "un" in front of you, you've made it in a sort of opposite kind of way. And then countries and enemies don't know what the hell you're doing, which is that's when you've got them where you want them. And we've got them right where we want them. And then also, I tell all my friends to buy when the market dips. And then I remove the tariffs, and all my friends make a lot of money, which is called being a good friend.
Yeah, well, I know you're a very busy man, and we do ask one thing though. Once we get off the phone with you, because we have a very important person waiting. But you're not going to put us in detention camps, right, for being a podcast?
That's sort of up to DOGE at this point. Like I've sort of, I'm very busy with tariffs and with golf and with Raya. I just got on Raya. It's like a sort of celebrity dating site, so that's also taking up a lot of my presidential time. But after that, I think it's your fate. You've done very well. I think you've been very respectful. Okay, maybe not as much. You've been more respectful than her. I think we both know that. But that's okay. That's okay. Sarcastic T-shirts aside, she's not the worst radical left woman I've ever seen. And but this is more of Doge and Ethan Musk. He's going to do this. So I'll put in a good word. How about that? That's the best I can promise.
Oh, did you say that? Because I got my Bernie guy here.
It's got a little Bernie Sanders action figure in front of her.
Oh, well, that's great. That's great. If not for the Bernie Bros, Hillary Clinton might have been elected. So thank you, Bernie. We love Bernie. We love Bernie, and he yells, and boy, oh boy, does he yell. But I like Bernie. I respect Bernie. He's crazy, but I respect him.
And I voted for Hillary. Come on.
I think you're supposed to say that from him.
Oh, I mean, I did not, sir.
I mean, he did praise his
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm sure in the radical left primary, you can vote for whoever you like. But obviously, when I was president, when I was running in the general election, even you, I don't think would have made such a horrible decision as to vote against me.
All right, Mr. President, I know you're very busy. You got to get back out on the golf course.
We're doing tremendous things in terms of golf.
Like moving the ball closer to the hole and stuff like that.
Oh, look at that. She's not as dumb as I thought. She understands golf. Okay, there's hope for her. There's hope for her.
All right, sir. Well, we've got to let you go because we have a very important person on hold that we have to talk to.
Yeah.
Bye.
Let's rewind a little.
Yeah.
You went to Georgetown. You're going to be a lawyer, right?
Yeah, Georgetown Law. That's where I started doing comedy.
Really?
Perfect timing.
So, starting off in Georgetown. And what made you decide to be a comedian?
Yeah, I was always and I'm sorry that you guys look so relaxed and your camera setup is so much better. Like my mic, I just want to make sure I'm close on my mic. So I know I probably look like, hello, hey guys. But
drinks too. We've got cocktails. That's why we look relaxed.
But in law school, just truth be told, I was kind of depressed in law school. It was sort of the first time I felt like I'd run into a challenge academically that I was not quite up to. I mean, I was up to it enough to graduate and do well in some classes, but I was in a long distance relationship. I was like struggling academically a little bit, which is a weird thing to say in law school at like a top law school to be like, I wasn't making the grade. It's like, you've already kind of made the grade because you're at a good law school, but it was just my first half of law school was terrible. And I remember friends of mine, I was just always the funny friend, but that one of my friends had just said, have you ever thought about trying stand up? I was like, nah, not really, but maybe, who knows? But I felt like halfway through law school, I just knew I needed a hobby or something. I needed something to just to get my mind off of law school. And I started after second year of law school, I started going to open mics in Washington, D.C. And it was everything I sort of needed. A creative outlet, a different group of people to engage with, something to activate a different part of my brain. And I just never stopped. Like, I just really liked it from, if the first open mic I went to, if those people at the Tacoma Station Tavern in DC, it's a jazz club, but they had a Monday open mic. That was the first time I ever did stand up. And I genuinely think if those people had been mean, I would have quit, because I was only doing it as like an experiment to be like, well, I'm funny to my friends. Maybe I could be funny. I wasn't one of those people, there's so many people like, oh, I should do stand up. I'm funny. I should do stand up. I was like, I'm funny to my friends, but I had enough respect for the art and was a big enough fan to say, I don't know if I'll be any good at this. And they were very nice. That first open mic, they were receptive. I'm sure I was terrible, but not terrible enough for them to be mean. And the rest is very obscure history.
Or maybe you killed it. Maybe you like were one of the comics that like killed it on the first time.
You know why I say no? I did well enough. Like, my jokes made sense, but I think the reason I say no is I have a tape in my apartment of a comedy contest I did at the DC Improv like 1 year into me doing comedy, and I won. And I watched that set several years ago, and I wanted to vomit. I would be so disgusted if I saw that comic on stage today, and it felt so hacky. And so, like, I was doing impressions, but it was that thing of like, hey, what if Arnold Schwarzenegger ran a grocery store with Robert De Niro? And like, I'm not quite that, but it was so hacky and contrived that and they loved it. They loved it. And I hated it.
You got to do that right now then. You could do the impressions of both of them?
Those are sort of really out of practice, to the point where maybe I could, but I'd hate to undo the good work I did at the beginning of this show by like dusting off stale impressions. But yes, my Owen Wilson, Robert De Niro, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger, these were like the core. Nicolas Cage. These were like the core of my first 2 years in stand-up.
Videos on YouTube of you doing this.
Can you send us like the old tape that you were talking about that you have in the apartment? We want to touch on this. Like, maybe like you're doing a thing where you're being very humble.
No, people who know me, like, this is the funny thing. When I do well, everybody knows it. And when I do badly, everyone, like, I do not do false modesty, and I don't do false modesty, and I don't also denigrate myself beyond, like, I killed it. And I'm telling you, I was ashamed of those people who loved my act that night, because watching it, I was like, this is terrible comedy.
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, wait a second. I might disagree, though. Okay, we watched the video of you when you performed in the full getup as Trump in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Said you were
Yeah.
And I sent MJ a message. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with this audience? Is he in like a conservative part of New Jersey? It is fucking golden. I'm sitting there. I'm half the time I'm like wiping my face because I'm like laughing and crying.
I appreciate that, but what I will say, the goal of that show, and I think it threw some people off in the audience, which I was fine with. If I had killed, I would have been happy. Awkward silence also made me happy, because I wasn't doing the show, as you can tell from watching it, I wasn't doing the show like, hey, JL's going to do his Trump impression for 45 minutes. I was doing it as, what if Donald Trump really thought he was a stand-up comic? So some people, I think, missed the joke, which I was fine with, because I wanted some awkwardness. So I think that's why it came across like, what's wrong with this crowd? Because I was like committing to Donald Trump doing a stand-up special, not me doing a stand-up special as Trump. So that's, I think, why it had that weird energy, which is exactly what I had hoped for, to be honest. And I'm not usually like some weird meta alt comic, but for that purpose, I wanted to sort of challenge myself with the Trump.
Because the best part in it was when there was where you started insulting the woman in the audience. when he was playing Trump. I was like, oh my God, that is so. I'm like, that is exactly what he would do if he was doing comedy and somebody had a
Right.
problem.
Oh, well, thank you.
Give it the proper plug. Inauguration is my favorite N-word on YouTube.
Thank you. And somebody did correct me, and if I thought it was a funny title, and then somebody after I was already done with it, they said, "Shouldn't you have made it inauguration is my second favorite N-word?" And I said, you know what? I hate to admit it. Yes, I should have.
Yeah, that is props to whoever told you that.
So if I read your bio right, you got the Trump impression during COVID, right? Okay.
That's when it blew up. I had actually I had been, this is a very weird thing, and I don't know why. I had been on the Adam Carolla show a bunch as a guest because I had originally done an Adam Carolla impression video that he saw and really liked. And then they had me like do videos for the show and like come on as a guest, like, throughout. So I was on the show like 10 times. And I did a Trump one day for one of my videos in 2014. Now, it was not good then. It was like the beginning of my Trump. But it's very funny that I don't know. I couldn't tell you why I did a Trump in 2014. It wasn't like 2015 is when he announced. I, for some reason, was like 1 year ahead and just kept working on it. And it was during the pandemic that I was just bored. I threw up a video that I literally had no expectation of doing anything. None. People always say like, "Oh, you knew it was going to go viral?" And I'm like, how? If I knew how to make something go viral, why would I have waited till my 16th year in comedy to blow up? Wouldn't I have just done something 10 years ago and become rich and famous? So it was, the video where I did like my buddy wrote to me, texted me before I was about to take my dog out and said, Trump says he's going to bring back the economy by Easter. And then I did this video and was just like, oh, that's a good one. And it, across social media platforms and YouTube, it got like, over 10 million views, which was just crazy because my previous high for a video was like 10 years, like 5 years earlier. I'd gotten like 400,000 for a Louis C.K. video. But yeah, long, boring way of saying I'd been doing it for a while and it finally just blew up out of like randomly in 2020.
You've gotten flack going to comedy clubs doing the Trump impersonation.
Yeah, like that's and there are like I don't like saying banned because I don't think it's as strong as banned, but like what else do you like? Banned feels like I'm being punished. This is more of like not getting booked because there's a club that I've worked on and off for well over a decade. And I've done well and I've been booked multiple times since the pandemic. And of course, because I have fans show up who specifically either know or like my political commentary and more important, the impressions. Impressions constitute like 5 to 10% of my stand-up act. But they are featured prominently in my bio because you want people to know, I know what he's about. I can go check out his videos if I don't know him. And if I know him, that will remind me, oh yeah, he's the guy who did the Trump or the Mitch McConnell or the Elon Musk, whatever the case may be. So I had done this club several times since the pandemic. But on this particular night, it was like a 50-50 split. And like in terms of politics, it was in a redder area, but it was about a 50-50 split. Now, when I had done a sister club of this organization in a very MAGA area, when I say it was like performing at a MAGA rally, they loved me. They loved me because my technique for crowds like this is very simple. I got on stage and was like, hey, everybody, I voted for Joe Biden. And they're like, boo, let's go, Brandon, boo. And I was like, whoa, settle down. Hey, I'm just letting you know, I didn't realize you guys were going to try to silence me for my political views. I thought that's what we did on the left. And now I'm here and you guys are telling me to shut up just because I voted for guy. I'm not even going to do political jokes, really. But you're booing me and they kind of were like, yeah, you know what? He's got a point. We don't want to be like the left, bro.
And I killed it for an hour. And I sold a ton of merch after the show. They loved me. So that was like, but I truly believe when you're performing in front of a crowd that's all red, they feel safe. They feel like this guy's the outsider. We have him cornered. He can't do anything. We own this place. So I play into that and be like, yeah, you own this place. So why are you going to boo me? Just listen to the jokes. And it worked. It has worked like a charm for me. But this other club was 50-50. So it was like 50% red, 50% liberal. So when you're telling a joke and like the liberals laugh, the red side of the room doesn't feel like, they're like, hey, are they trying to make us look stupid? And so in this particular case, I started my set. I had video footage of the show. I'm killing for a half hour. Like I'm just either prepping for a special taping or I just finished one. So I'm sharp. The material's all ready to go. But then I get it. I say, okay, I have these like 5 minutes on Trump I want to do and work in the impression, which many right-wing people love the impression. And but I started with a joke where I said, hey, I hate how my left-wing friends give me shit for wanting to have sex with Lauren Boebert. And I said, I don't get it. I think she's cute. She's a little trashy, but she's cute. But if I told my left-wing friends that I want to hook up with a transgender black midget, they'd tell me, we love that you are standing in your truth. We see you. We love that for you. But then I say, Lauren Boebert's kind of hot, right? They're like, you disgust me. Don't ever speak to me again. So I'm thinking that's kind of a good joke to be like, hey, look, I'm not picking on the right now. I'm sort of like entering political territory with a kind of shitting on my own people. The joke kind of falls flat. And then I went into my Trump material, which was like not hardcore, but it was really to get into the impression and stuff. And do you want me to just recap the story like of the guy yelling out, Donald Trump is the greatest president of my life? And I was like, okay, well, first of all, why are you heckling me, sir? Like, what is this? Why are you yelling that to me? But I said, you think he's the best of your life, your whole life? And he said, maybe Reagan. And I said, okay, fair enough. All right. You like Reagan, you like Trump. I'd probably say Reagan's better than Trump, but okay. And then I just said, because he's heckling me, I take a little license. I said, sir, one question and then we can just move on. If you could only suck the dick of one president, Trump or Reagan, who would it be? Just answer. Don't even think about it. So then some people laughed at that, but other people found that like deeply, I wouldn't even say offensive. They just didn't like being poked fun of. And I lost 2 tables in the back of the room. They were done with me. And I think they complained to the owner. They walked a little bit before the end of the show. I heard one guy, I could overhear one guy saying, that guy sucked. And what's so funny is that when I watched my tape later that night, I could see both of those tables laughing for the first half of my set. And I get it where people say, hey, politics can really turn people off. But if I had been making jokes about Joe Biden being senile, they would not have been offended by politics being brought up. They would have enjoyed it. And the fact is and I said about this place that some places in this country, politics means liberal, like bashing of the right. And if you are bashing the left, that's just good comedy. Like that's not, that just shows you're not woke. So there's this double standard, and it's rare because I don't like to travel. I get grief from left-wing audiences all the time, not full audiences, but people going, oh, I didn't like that. Or, oh, JL, that's kind of a mean joke from you. And I go, so be it. So be it. I'm sorry. I'm a good person. Sometimes my jokes are mean. Most of the time they're not. But sometimes one will be. And if you think I'm a terrible comedian because you just heard one joke you don't like, then you're probably not a great comedy fan anyway. But with the right-wing audiences, they like to say, oh, we like real comedy. That just means they like cruelty. Sometimes they can be good comedy fans, but they can also like meanness. But if you're mean to them, there can be. I don't want to paint everybody with this brush. There's plenty of people on both sides who can take a joke and dish it and take it.
but we don't treat right-wing sensitivity as snowflake. We treat it as like, you're going too far, bro. This is comedy, not politics. But if you bash the left and you don't like it, you're a snowflake. That's the double standard that annoys me.
But
Yeah.
one thing that we do, we're up in the Northwest Arizona, outside of Las Vegas, and we had like a Mojave Pride Festival every year. And one thing about Dave Chappelle when he did his special, he was talking about transgender.
Yep.
All of our friends got really, really like insulted by that. But Snow and I, being comedy fans, you listen to this story the comedian is telling, and what Dave Chappelle did, he told a brilliant story that it really wasn't offensive by the time you got to the end of it, but you just weren't listening to what he was
Well,
saying.
that's what I asked them, because I was like, did you actually listen to the whole thing though? Because you wouldn't have gotten mad if you heard the entire thing.
Right.
I don't think
Yeah,
he stayed till the end of it.
right. With Chappelle, the one thing I will say is, because what's funny is he first started getting grief after, I think, a 2015 or 2016 special where he did a joke about like a trans woman chopping off her junk and like slamming it on a boardroom table. And I was like, I get how some people could find that offensive. I'm not going to, but at the same time, it was very funny. And for me, as a comedian, I always say, I'm not telling you to not be offended or be offended. Everybody's going to take a joke differently. But when you say that certain things cannot be done on a comedy stage, like now you're going beyond. It's the same way people talk about religion, as far as where it's like, practice how you want to practice, believe what you want to believe, but don't make me believe what you believe. Like it's there has to be a personal space and then a social space. And I feel like, even though I think Dave Chappelle, the mistake he made, in my opinion, was he couldn't let it go to the point where it started to sometimes feel like lecturing and not comedy, because it was like 3 specials worth of this being a topic. But, I was, when he first started getting into it, I was just like, yeah, sometimes you cross a line for some people, but if you're trying to be funny, that's the space that allows that. You don't have to like it, but to shut it down is a very different thing than I personally didn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? That's a big difference that really seems to have been conflated in the last several years. And that's maybe where the right wing has latched on to this kind of anti-wokeness, where it becomes, I don't think you're a bad person or even a bad comedy fan if you don't like a joke. Not every joke is for every person. But when you try to tell comedians or dictate what is comedy, that has to be a very broad space. Obviously, when Michael Richards is screaming the N-word at people from the stage, that's not comedy.
But I mean, yeah, if you try to tell a comedian that you can't make a joke out of something, I think they're gonna find a way to make a joke out of that,
Somebody like Dave Chappelle, definitely, because he's powerful. I will be honest. My career hangs by a thread too often, where I'll be like, oh, you didn't like that one? Well, I still want to work. All right, I'll tell that somewhere else.
Well, on that note, did you get any grief on your new Amazon special, Half Blackface?
Oh, not really. I did. A few people were like, I don't know about this title. And I'm like, it's clearly, the humor is baked in, even if you don't know what I'm talking about. It's a funny title, like just on its face, even if you don't like kind of know what it is. But people be like, explain. Like I had somebody on Twitter go, before I watch this, can you explain exactly what the title is about? I was like, no, like just watch it.
Like that's what I got out of it. Like if you're gonna put a title out like that's something that I'm gonna want to watch, because
Right.
you already tell it's controversial, like it's like you're gonna want to know. And then once you watch it, then you learn a little bit about your background. You're like, okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
No,
Right.
I saw that. I saw the title. I was like, "Uh-oh!" But then when I watched the special, I'm like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
Right. Yeah, and to me, that's like, we've gotten into this. We're in a very weird space. Obviously, I think we're coming out of it. The one thing that
the one thing I'll concede to, and I'm a left of center guy, obviously, but I think there are comedians now and spaces within comedy where it becomes more about I'm saying offensive things and I'm trying to trigger and upset people as like, look at me, I'm a real comic. And I go, well, let's not forget being funny is still should be on both sides the main point of comedy, not clapping because you agree with my political takes and not laughing because people are upset for a good reason. Like funny is still, I think, has for both sides. I think still has to be the North Star, and sometimes I feel like it isn't.
Like Greg Gutfield, I just find like he's being intentionally cruel rather than fun most of the time. I mean, I know you can't say anything. That's my commentary, not yours.
I don't think. Well, I didn't know him as a comedian, and then you told me he was a comedian, and I'm like, I don't think this guy's funny at all. I mean, because I try to. Well, I try to purposely seek out the comedians on the right side of the aisle so I can be like, so I can find that common ground. Like, at least I can laugh at like jokes that you're telling.
Sure.
Okay, let's give this a whirl. Anytime I see something on, for instance, I just watched the Andrew Schultz comedy special on Netflix.
Life, the new one, Life.
Yes. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to give my honest perspective on this. I didn't laugh until he got more into the jokes about the IVF stuff with his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those jokes weren't even that funny. I mean, my personal opinion, but I'm into comedy, like I like the raunchier stuff. But like, what did I say about him? I said that he reminds me, he's funnier looking than he is funny. Like right. He reminds me of, do you remember the character that Matt Dillon played in There's Something About Mary?
Oh, sure. With the teeth. What am I going to do with all these Nepalese coins?
Yeah, he reminds me of that. So I couldn't get past that. I was like, your jokes would have been really good if they were told back in the time that movie was made. I mean, all the gay jokes would have fit in really well in the 90s, but they're just not
right. But I think that's the problem now is that I've had left-wing people discover my comedy and go, oh, this is, and I'm really not an edgy comic. Like there's really nothing, and I say edgy meaning it's not that it's not thoughtful or funny or occasionally offensive, but there's nothing about me like being edgy, like look at what I just said. But on the right, I've had people who assume because I make fun of Trump that I'm a woke, terrible, soft comic. And then they'll see my stuff and go, oh, I didn't realize you were like a good comic. And I go, yeah, that's like everybody seems to bring their own biases to the table and then accuse the other side of like not being real or good because you don't conform with that. And my politics are very known. So if somebody just is offended by the fact that I think Trump sucks, and then so be it. But like my comedy, you wouldn't be able to tell my comedy, my politics from 96% of my stand-up. You'd have no idea what my politics are. And I've had people assume that I was like some right-wing bro just because my stand-up felt like a regular stand-up. But I think there's, like you said, the gay jokes and things like that. You'd be surprised how many people, look at our president. Culturally, there is a yearning and a thirst for a lot of people in this country to have it be 1991 again. They want Andrew Dice Clay. They want to be able to say the F word when they see a gay person. They want it all back as if like progress is somehow anti-comedy or being kind is the opposite of comedy, which it's not. You can be both. You can be funny, you can be irreverent, but you don't have to be a terrible person. You don't have to be, and I'm not telling people that jokes can't hurt feelings. They can, but this general culture now of like either you're just bashing Trump and getting applause, or you're just going for every offensive thing you can say to prove that you're real to the people who want it to be 1991 again.
That's exactly what I said about that special. I'm like, when I watched that, I was like, this is the problem with Gen Xers. They want to still live in the 90s.
And to be fair, I'm not weighing. I've seen his earlier stuff. I haven't seen the new one yet. So I don't want that one way or the other for it to be interpreted, me specifically criticizing that. But yeah, but I think, look at our president, all politics aside, this is a guy who had his heyday in the 80s, has never evolved beyond 1986. He still thinks greed is good and gay people are icky and black people are criminals. And that, like, he is the 80s. Like, he never evolved past then. And I think to a lot of people in this country who either literally wish it was the 80s so they could be younger and not have to worry about people's feelings as much, or people who look back at movies and go, the 80s seemed cool. People could do what they wanted. Every chick in movies just flashed their tits. This is the decade, baby. So that's why he's president. There's like this twisted nostalgia for people. Like, I said it in a video recently, but Make America Great Again should really be Make America the 80s again. Because I think that's what people forget, the 50s or whatever they pretend it is. It's the 80s. It's greed, it's coke, it's hookers, it's slurs, it's stereotypes, it's Andrew Dice Clay, it's, teen movies where there's tons of nudity and questionable sex practices and consent. That's what they want.
Because like that's what our generation grew up on. So it's kind of like the boomers are being phased out. So that's why it's no longer the 50s anymore. And it's kind of moved to like the 80s.
Right.
What
and that's when I discovered comedy, watching Rodney Dangerfield and seeing the Sam Kinison and Dice Clays and stuff like that. And one thing I did want to ask you, I was a big Howard Stern fan. What did you do with Howard Stern?
Oh, I appeared on his show 3 times during the pandemic as Trump. And I will leave out the conversations that occurred with me and the producers as to why I didn't continue appearing on the show. But I will just say this. And there was no beef. There was nothing. It was just, I was a very freewheeling improvisational Trump because I had such command of it. And I think they wanted a little more scripted. But I will say this, my first appearance on Howard Stern, it was 25 minutes long. And the producer wrote to me when I hung up and said, holy effing S, that was awesome. So I thought I was going to become like a super regular on the show because they said she literally said, hey, if he wraps it up after 5 minutes, don't be offended. Maybe he just wants to move on, but sometimes it can go 10, 12 minutes. I was on the phone for 25 minutes with him as Trump. So that was obviously a career highlight, but like so many things in my comedy career, the disappointment would follow months later where I was like, oh, I guess they went with somebody else now. And I don't want to assume anything beyond they just decided they wanted somebody else.
crazy to me because I already told it. Remember when I told you, I'm like, this guy should be like on all the late night shows doing the impersonations of Trump. Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, yeah, I'm like, why isn't everyone calling him? He is so good.
If we can find that clip on YouTube?
Oh, like of me on Stern? Is that what you're asking? Somebody had asked me a while ago, and I was like, I don't know where to find it, to be honest. Like and then people had asked me in like 2020 because they would put some stuff up, but yeah, it was. I never had the clip, but it would have been, I guess, maybe May of 2020 or something, and it was like a 25 minute phone call with me as Trump. And I thought my best thing I did on that was when he said, do you have any comics you'd recommend? And I just named a bunch of conservative comics and didn't plug myself because that was the chance for me to plug my own identity. And I said, no, I'll stay in character. I'll show that I'm the real deal. And, maybe they'll have me back. So they had me back 2 more times, but then they decided to shift away from me. And I don't know if it was
because I never crossed any lines, but I am extremely, as you can tell, comfortable with the character off the cuff. So, but thank you. I agree. I wish I was on all the shows.
I
But
don't worry that
I'm on your show. I'm on your show, and
I
you are
know.
one of the shows included in all of the shows.
Maybe this will open the doors to the Tonight Show. I mean, maybe. You never know.
Sure.
Speaking of
That would
that,
be great.
wrapping up on this, you'll be in Vegas in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, in I guess just under 3 weeks. My friend Pete Dominic, who has a great show called Stand Up with Pete Dominic, he was a Sirius XM host for 11 years. He built up like a very good, strong fan base. So this is the second year they've done it where Pete comes out and like several of his more prominent guests come out, and we'll be doing like live podcast recordings, some sort of hangouts for the general fan base community. It's like a Comic Con, but just for this one podcast radio show community. And there'll be stand up, there'll be podcast recordings and other stuff. But it was really, really fun last year. So I'm looking forward to it again in Henderson, Nevada, which I tell people Las Vegas because it's very close.
Sunset Station. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're like Kingman, where we're only like 100 miles from Las Vegas. Like, we should try to go see the show.
Are you going to be doing stand up there?
When are you going to be there?
I think I have the schedule is like, if you go to my website, the link, if you click on it, will have like the link to buy tickets for that show has like the rundown of the different events. So the stand up, I want to say it's Friday night, but it might be Saturday night. I can't remember because I'll be out there for several days. You're in, did you say Kingsman, Arizona? Kingman or Kingsman?
Kingman.
Because I think I am not to get off on another topic, but I am actually taking Amtrak from the East Coast all the way.
Oh, you'll be.
And so there's a stop, I feel like, in Kingman, and then I have to get like a shuttle bus to Vegas.
It's downtown. Like, I live like 5 streets up from there.
Okay, so if at like 11 p.m. you hear, I'll be like,
It'll be funny. We could do another podcast. We could take you to the show and do a podcast. That'd be hilarious.
Okay, yeah, you'll have to let me know when your stand-up show will be. Yeah,
I will. I will for sure.
Well, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah, great meeting you guys. Thank you for asking. It's great to meet you, and I appreciate you guys watching my stuff and having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, we came across your YouTube special where you're doing Trump, and we just thought it was hilarious. I immediately sent it to Snow. I was like, hey, you have to watch.
I'm like, this is the best Trump impersonator ever. I'm like, I don't know.
Thank you.
But he doesn't have him doing Trump. Like, he's the best. Like
thank you. It's like I'm here. It's like that's the voice in my head all the time. Why am I not doing this more? Why am I not getting more opportunities?
Try to go to sleep when you hear that voice. That would be torture. Just hear Trump's voice.
That's me. I have Trump insomnia. Like, I go to bed, I just like hear that voice. I'm like, oh no.
But yeah, I guess, can I just plug my website is basically has everything, all the links and everything. JLComedy.com. And you can order if people want a Trump cameo. I've made a killing on the site Cameo. I know it's usually a place for like has-beens, but I'm a never was, so I'm okay being there. But yeah, it's JLComedy.com has everything. You can learn about me, links to my albums, specials, etc. So if anybody enjoyed this, I hope you'll check it out.
And then got, Half Blackface on Amazon.
Oh yeah. There's a link like right on the homepage. I don't want to bombard people too much with all that stuff, but yeah, I have a special called Tall Boy on YouTube. I have Half Blackface on Amazon Prime. I've got 8 stand-up albums you can stream or buy. I blog a few times. People like my writing. So, and I do have a weekly podcast as Trump. I have my weekly podcast as myself, where I talk sort of politics and culture, is on break until the end of April. But Making Podcasts Great Again is my weekly show as Trump. So that's done pretty well for us also.
I'm gonna check that out.
I've checked out a couple. So.
And you didn't send it to me?
Come on. Busy over
Very nasty. You should, that's how you know he's a nasty guy. You should send it to everybody. It's called sharing. Like a great person named Barney once said, sharing is caring.
All right. Well, we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks on it.
Hell yeah.
Time, but I will be there.
I'll get you the info. Thank you very much. Really great meeting you guys.
Thank you. It was good meeting you too.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thank you.
That was so cool.